everybody. It's your girl Pajama with Pajama Life. And it looks like Pat might come in with us today. And it looks like David might be having some technical difficulties. But we will soldier on. We'll be good troopers, as it were. I'm trying to get a lot of Bad Batch references in there. But today, we have a really good lineup of TV shows, and today we're going to do our Oscar-nominated Best Writing picks, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original Screenplays. So, hey, there we go. I think. But David, there he is. Say hey to the people, David.
Hey, everybody. Great to be with you on a much tinier screen. But as long as you can hear me, I do seem to be a little hazy on this one. But nonetheless, great.
It's glow.
There's glow.
And you got that glow. Well, let's get started with our first pick is our selection for Black History Month, the 1619 Project. Let's take a look.
Except for the occasional passing reference to our enslavement and the civil rights movement, the story of America that I learned made it seem that Black people had not contributed much of value to this land. The only Black male teacher I ever had gave me a book that told the story of the year 1619, the beginning of American slavery. No one had bothered to teach us that Africans in slavery were here before the Mayflower, and then empowered that our lineage as Black Americans went back that far. The end of the Racial Integrity Act and other archaic laws that created race doesn't mean that the racial categories and beliefs they enforced over centuries simply disappear. We cannot make up for all the lives lost and dreams snatched, for all the suffering endured. But we can atone for it. We can acknowledge the crime.
Well, I thought this was a really good history lesson on America and its treatment of African Americans from slavery until now, with some very interesting solutions and things to think about. It's a little heavy, but it should be, because we're talking about the history of enslavement, we're talking about the injustices brought upon Black Americans, and we're talking about some of the ills that our government has perpetrated on Black people from slavery until their descendants to this day. So it's excellently done. It's a little hard to watch at times, but I think it's something every American should watch, because let's be realistic right now. History is being tampered with in certain states and certain areas about not revealing the truth of history. So we need things like this to tell the truth of it, so that the next generations understand the legacy of slavery and the mistreatment of Black folks. So excellent done. Nicole Hannah-Jones even had trouble herself because of this project and had to leave her university and go to another one. Just trying to write about history is an act of rebellion. So she and others like her are fighting the good fight, and all of us who want to help, there is resources out there, and I encourage you, if you are in a place that has banned books, banned types of history, read it. If it's banned, it must be good. So definitely check out the 1619 Project. David, what'd you think?
Well, first, let me ask you this. Pam, did you read what the New York Times had published some time ago, or was this your first experience with with the 1619 Project. I mean,
this is my first experience with the 1619 Project. Okay. So I don't typically look at reviews of stuff before I watch it, because I don't care what those people think. But what was going on with that, and then what did you think of it?
Well, first of all, I thought it was powerfully done.
Yeah.
I do think as the 1619 Project was originally in the written form that the New York Times had produced, I encourage people to take time to read those essays.
Yeah.
I think it was really, I think it was great journalism. I think there was a lot of wonderful scholarship as well. I know there were historians who had great conversations about because some pieces of it, there was like a journalist would, you have opinion pieces, and there's things, as there was great debate between some historians on some aspects. But I think it's a really powerful thing to read.
Yeah.
And you alluded to, when you're seeing what's going on with the advanced placement African American studies class, and I'd love to see a comparison of what was initially proposed and then what's kind of been modified to see, for whatever reasons it's been changed. This is very important. It's timely. It's not, if you talk to somebody or hear somebody say, "Oh man, are they still talking about slavery?" Of course we are, because those issues are impacting us today. It's a really important thing to watch, and the lessons in it are things that people should remember. I only learned in 2019 about a woman named Alice Paul. Alice Paul, just as a quick note, as an example, Alice Paul was instrumental in the fight for women to have the right to vote. And you hear about Susan B. Anthony; she was on a coin, some of that stuff, but I never heard about Alice Paul. Alice Paul led the protest during World War I. During a war, she stood up and said, "Hey, we're fighting the Germans. Why isn't Woodrow Wilson being supportive of all of our freedom?" Jailed and forced fed. So I bring up this woman in her context to say, I'm a history major and I didn't know about her. There are pieces of history, of things that have occurred that are not always taught, that you've got to go look for. And for that reason, the 1619 Project, for what it is and what it represents, is so critical. There are tremendous contributions of countless different people. They don't always look like the founding fathers. They don't sound like them. Their journeys are different. Their impact to where we are today is critical, and you got to know it. You got to know it and have the courage to say there were some bad things, there were some good things, and that leads us to something better. Watch 1619, read the 1619 Project, and grow. Be open to growing. And hey, there might be some of the scholarship in that you disagree with. Let it challenge you. Do more research and see where you come out with it. But read it, and don't ever have the fear of knowledge, of hearing someone's perspective. You've got to learn and grow and be open to the good and bad that is our past.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. There's Patrick. Hey. All right. Able to join us. We're talking about the 1619 Project. Okay. Do you have any words about the project?
It was really interesting. I got to see the only couple episodes. It's been kind of hectic this week. Stuff I saw was very good, well done. It was it made it very approachable. I thought, by integrating personal stories.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really good move to help people not see this as just such an academic issue or something that happened just to somebody. It was really good to put faces with these stories. So I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I totally recommend it. I wish I had a chance to see more, but life got in the way. So here we are.
It's still on. You can still watch.
I know, and I will. I'll work through it.
Yeah, and I think it's important, particularly for young people, to take a look at it, and particularly those in states where our civil liberties are in jeopardy around what's being taught and just the erasure of history in favor of a sanitized version of it. So history is not always pleasant, but it's truth. And we need to finally really look at the truth of what's happened so that we can reconcile it and atone for it and move on. And it's only until you come to a reconciliation and atonement that you can move on with something. Okay. Next, let's take a look at 2 episodes dropped unexpectedly for this week's episode of The Bad Batch. Let's take a look.
It's not right. Well, I can't stay silent any longer. Wait, what did you do?
The Emperor, as always, trusts this delegation to act in the best interest of all galactic citizens.
And what about the interests of the clone troopers? Why are they not included within this legislation?
What do you need, Rex? I'll explain everything when you get to Coruscant. That's a big ask, Captain. It's a covert mission. A simple data extraction. I'm taking the lesson from your school. We improvise. New plan. We need an exit strategy. Good one. We're going over them. Over them?
You're a fool to bring me here. Do you know what happens when you dig around where you shouldn't?
Oh boy, this one was a real surprise. So, David, talk about what you thought of The Bad Batch.
Pam, I'm sorry, I have to confess, I didn't watch The Bad Batch. I did see a lost 2 episodes of the Clone Wars, and it was fantastic. A really great story. We do see a theme with this show. The 2 episodes were wonderful in many respects.
Yeah.
But when we look at The Bad Batch, this episode really kind of magnifies a challenge with it. That the lead characters, that generally the protagonists of the story, are really secondary. The best episodes, the most provocative, the most thought, the entertaining, those stories have them as secondary figures, or maybe the team not even as a whole. But this, back to just a classic Clone Wars perspective, was really good. So but loved it. It was a lot of fun. I have to ask, I don't understand. It seems fairly backward. If I had access to create my own army of completely trained and programmed, for the most part, to be loyal people who have no rights, kind of the antithesis of the 1619 project, why does Palpatine want to get rid of these guys for the stormtroopers? There's a disconnect from where Lucas took us with the prequels, trying to get us back to the original trilogy, that it scratches my head if I think about it. But these 2 episodes were a lot of fun.
Yeah. Pat, what'd you think?
I agree with a lot of what he just said, but it just seems to me that all the Star Wars properties that Disney's running right now, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, they really are seeming to try to tie up a lot of loose ends. A lot of things that are going on, gaps in the mythology. And this here, we're dealing with what happened to the clones, because come, A New Hope, you don't see them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just stormtroopers, that can't hit a barn, from 10 meters. So I see a lot of they're trying to tie up loose ends, trying to reconcile and get a consistent canon, it feels like. And Dave Filoni is probably the guy to do that. He owns as much of the canon, if not more, probably, than George Lucas does at this point. He's the best fan fiction writer you'll ever meet. I'm just saying. So I really enjoyed them. They were really good. And like you say, and the most interesting characters tend to be outside of the core group. The core group seems to be a vehicle to move the story at this point, where they're moving from, they're part of these other stories that they're trying to tell, and they're finding ways to move you from this chunk of the story to another chunk of the story. They might have an episode or two where they have to do some stuff to keep the Bad Batch, and the same thing they did with Boba Fett. You know, we want to keep moving towards the Mandalorian. You know, they know where their money is, and they know where the interest is, and they're trying to, you know, really do a good job. And for the most part, they do a pretty darn good job of integrating several people's vision into one consistent and cohesive type of vision. So I like them. Heck, they could probably show the clone trooper, the Bad Batch eating breakfast for half an hour, and I'd probably have a good time with that too. I'm just saying, it's pretty good stuff. And there's a dearth of really good science fiction fantasy really going on. I mean, everybody will point to some things and say they're great, but I really do enjoy this.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode, but I think, David, they explained it. I think last season, that conscription was cheaper than the clones because Lama Su was charging like a lot. And so why pay when you can just force people to serve and kill them if they don't? I mean, they become totally expendable at that point.
But conscription means pay. I don't know. There's a lot.
Pay them.
Well, yeah, didn't you watch Andor? There's a lot of money involved with paying those people. The payroll is the whole thing of Andor.
Yeah, that was. I think that that might go to the officers, but I think that the Emperor, he don't want to pay people, so I'm sure.
And that's where the disconnect is to me. But okay, that's what they say in the cartoon, and it's fun. I will go with it because I won't put as much stock into that. Although again, it is turning into Order 33, like I said last week.
Yeah. Well, it's really fun. I think it's really entertaining. I think these were a couple of these last 3 episodes I've enjoyed the most out of the whole season. And I feel like it's really ratcheting up to be like really great last set of episodes. So I think we have like 12 episodes maybe?
Well, 16, I thought.
Oh, is it 16? Oh, so we have quite a few. So
I think we're about halfway
through. So usually the second half is really good on this show. It was last season. So I expect the last, half 9 episodes or so to really be good. So I'm definitely looking forward, and it's something the whole family can watch, and like when we were kids, you could just park a kid in front of it and let them watch it and go do something else real quick. So definitely check out the Bad Batch. Okay, up next, the Oscar Best Writing nominations. This is the category I really love because it's always something interesting in these 2 categories. So let's take a look at the adapted screenplay nominees. Okay. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. And this year, I actually saw all of them. David and Patrick, you'll be happy to know I went to the theater for the first time this year and was able to see Living and Women Talking. And we have reviewed the other the other movies on this channel. So let's see, Patrick, what did you think about the movies in this category?
Well, I gotta tell you, I've only seen 2 of them.
Okay.
I've only seen Glass Onion and Top Gun Maverick, and neither one of them really blew my skirt up. I'm just saying, okay. Top Gun Maverick, I'm like, I don't
even know how that's in this category.
I have not been a fan of that whole. I mean, I get the nostalgia and and all the stuff, but I was not blown away.
Yes.
And I thought that Glass Onions was witty. I had a lot of star power, but that had nothing to do with the screenplay. The screenplay itself wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't but it wasn't, it wasn't snappy kind of, dialogue and writing that I tend to like a little bit more. It was fine. So I don't have a lot of opinion on it either one. Neither one of them was great. I planned to watch All Quiet on the Western Front today, but work came up, so here we are without that. So moving on.
Okay. David, what did you think?
Well, I was surprised by the nominees, quite honestly. Seeing the films, I think there's some strengths to them, but I couldn't see Glass Onion or Maverick, either one, as Oscar nominees. The fact that with Maverick, you've got a part of the story that really goes unsaid in a lot of terms is the technology and the drones replacing pilots. Could be, which is a very interesting thing looking at. All's Quiet in the Western Front, I thought did a great job. Not, the book I think is still better, but it did a wonderful job of showing the elites making decisions with the everyman who was brought in with glory and dreams of honor, and who were just ravaged very quickly in the war. I of those, there's no question to me, All's Quiet is the most deserving of it. Glass Onion is, man, Ryan Johnson, just give it to Agatha Christie and be done. My man is just a ripoff.
No.
Profiting off of the carcass of dead properties. Last Jedi and his Netflix bonanza.
Well, okay, so I've seen them all, and I might have agreed with you all, but having seen Living, which is based on Ikiru, a Japanese movie by the master Akira Kurosawa, and I think it was like 1959 maybe or something, and Women Talking. Okay, so Living, it's a story about a government bureaucrat. I don't like that word, but that's kind of what he is. And he receives a health diagnosis that kind of shifts his way of thinking and being because he doesn't have much time. And so he's trying to figure out kind of where does he go in this last moments of life. And it is, okay, so working in the government, working with government, and I had the same experience as the protagonists, the women in the movie, trying to get something done and being bounce, trying to get a visa. I had the same experience this week. So I completely understand. And then his story is so poignant. And Bill Nighy, when we talk about the best actor category, people were like, I don't know why he's in it. Go see that movie and you will understand what the author does. What's his name? It is a Japanese Nobel Prize winner who wrote the screenplay, and he does such a great job. Kazu Ishiguro is the screenplay. He does the screenplay. He wrote the screenplay based off Akiru, which Kurosawa did. My only issue with it is that it really is like there are even shot for shot scenes that are the same. And like the wording, because it's in Japanese translated, the wording, it's almost exactly the same, but it's condensed. The original is 2.5 hours. This is an hour and 37 minutes, something like that. So he does a masterful job of taking that big movie and collapsing it and moving it from Japan to England. But it would be easier than America because you have that kind of British reserve which is similar to Japanese reserve when it comes to working. And so I think it really works better than I thought. I mean, it kind of reminded me of Drive My Car last year. And it is a wonderful story. And if you can't get to the movies to see Living Ikiru on HBO Max, you will get the same, literally almost the same thing. So your complaint about Ryan Johnson, David, is kind of, it's not quite a complaint, but it's like, I wish there was some different things done, but you know, he kind of ripped him off. But it's still wonderful to translate it into something that everyone can watch. And it's definitely something, it's very inspiring. It's very lovely and subtle and controlled, but powerful. I loved it. Women Talking. Sarah Polley wrote. This is based off the book. I'll look up the writer. But I think it's Miriam Tui. I know I'm not pronouncing your name, but this one is powerful as well. It's based on a real story of, in 2010, these women in this kind of religious community escaped because the men of that community were drugging and raping them. The women, the children, the girls, and the women were being beaten, you know, all in the name of this religion or whatever. And it's a story of them deciding once what they're going to do. They're either going to stay and maybe fight, or they're going to leave and get away, you know, however they can. So it is, Sarah Polley has a really good way of writing these kind of stories, and it's very female focused. And there, Ben Whishaw, who's been in a lot of things recently. He was the new Q in No Time to Die in the new version, but he's wonderful as a young man whose family were excommunicated, and he comes back. But I think the writing is very powerful, that because these women are like going at it, but it kind of reminds you of a stage play, the way Sarah Polley is also the director, how she directed it. So it's, most of it takes place in a barn where the women are, but the story is, it's very powerful, but it's a story of violence against women, about women not able to use their voice, and then finally, you know, making well, I won't tell you what happened, but it really talks about, does religion give people the right to control women to the point where they're being abused and tortured in the name of God? And so it's a really interesting story about the limits of faith, as well as dealing with abuse and how to survive. So it's those two, I didn't think that I would. I was kind of like, oh, it's another thing. But I was sat there in the theater. There weren't many of us because I went in the morning on Saturday, but everybody was hushed when it was done. I mean, it was like very, very powerful. So I definitely think those two. All Quiet on the Western Front.
No.
No. And I'm reading the book right now, but the movie just, no. I've just seen better since I haven't finished the book, I can't tell about the adaptation from the book to the movie. David, you read the book. Is this a pretty good adaptation of it?
I think there were some things that were kind of missing
Uh-huh.
from the movie. I thought the scenes in the train car and all really were good in the movie that I don't recall. I haven't read it recently. I don't recall that. There were some really powerful scenes of what it is to be a soldier that it kind of, some of it was brought up, some of it wasn't in this. But to me, World War One is such a under marketed event.
Yeah, that's true.
This story, the other thing, again, this was a story that was written by the enemy, the bad guys, and I think that's another aspect of that. The significance of the work as a book and as a film really is something for us to think about, and that's why I still liked it better than the others. I've seen all of those too.
Okay, what did you think of Living?
It was good. It was good. I do chuckle about the federal service stuff. I
know, right? It make you think about your job, man.
I about my job like that, and then on a day for a better part of my career. I won't go into how that evolved, but I thought it was good. I like the actor too. He's wonderful. Has an action figure from the Underworld. I think it's Underworld series.
Oh yeah. He was the lead
vampire. He's got him on a card. He's worth a pretty penny still. I understand. Yeah. So I want to see somebody, that, and again, Love Actually, more action figures from that.
Oh, it was the funniest on Love Actually. Bill Nighy is the best.
Great.
But the subtlety of his work there was just.
Oh, he's brilliant in this.
Amazing.
And the movie is a good one. I mean, again, these films kind of stop you and think. A lot of good messaging in this. Very powerful stories. Women talking, same. I mean, there were some really good ones. Top Gun and Glass Onion really don't seem to be in this category.
Yeah, when you look, once you see those movies, it's kind of like, what? Top Gun, Glass Onion, I could see for popularity and the quirkiness of it. But Top Gun is just the writing. I was like, So we'll see. I don't know. Okay, let's go to Best Original Screenplay. Now, this one is interesting. The producer and I had a big discussion about this one. So let's take a look at the nominees. All right, we have The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. Okay, I think we've reviewed at least a couple of these, and you all know which one I thought I despised, but there's another one that I despise even more. But I'll let Patrick start off.
Well, I know you probably think you know what I'm going to love. Everything Everywhere All at Once was
go ahead and hit us with it.
Stupid amazing. I loved everything about that. And you know what? Like I continually say, I'm a big Marvel fan. And Everything Everywhere All at Once was the same year as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And so I should obviously love Multiverse of Madness. It's the best multiverse movie. Now, Everything Everywhere All at Once was so much better. The acting in it was superb. The weird quirkiness of so much of it was just amazing. Googly eyes on rocks. I mean, there was just so much stuff that was just so quirky and weird. And, the hot dog fingers. I mean, it was just so much.
Hot dog fingers.
It was so weird. And it was so inventive. I mean, how could you not love that movie? I mean, and like I said, and the whole you got to see Michelle Yeoh, who is always solid as hell, and you got to see her return Short Round. You got to see Jamie Lee Curtis for her first Oscar nomination for this thing, and it was amazing. I mean, everybody in that was it was such a good movie, and it was witty.
Yeah,
it was really witty. It was the most witty way to couch a parent-child relationship problem in the world. I mean, I loved it. That's the one I would pick. The other ones, Banshees of Inisherin, I loved a lot too, but they're totally different movies. And it was just a wonderful period piece. And I mean, it was the pacing was not to everybody's liking, but I just liked it. It was just because it was just so brutal and weird at the same time,
Terrible.
And so I did enjoy that a lot. I didn't see Tar. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. I mean, so those are the two that I enjoyed. The other ones, I'm just like, they were okay. But definitely Everything Everywhere at All. It's my favorite for every category is in. I'll tell you, I'm pulling for
You're rooting 100%.
A lot of categories, by the way. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
A lot to pull for.
Yeah. Hey, David, what do you think?
Well, to me, there's no question. The corn cob definitely goes to All at Once.
Oh. Wait,
no question
is that? Ew. What is that? Babe, we don't want to know that much about you.
This is the speech and debate trophy. This is the speech and debate trophy. And corn. It's the kernel corn.
Sure. Wait, you tell your story.
Okay,
Tell it however you want to, Dave. I mean, I'm not gonna contradict you.
All love the movie, so I just want. Honest to God, it is a trophy, just like Jamie Lee Curtis. It is between this film and Living. It is kind of the year of the federal employee in the films.
That's right.
There is some symbolism there, so that is kind of neat. But I thought Everything All at Once was so out there and so wild, but knock out home run performances by the cast. Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic. And I'm just going to call him Short Round. It was great to see him back after all this time. And I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Great. He didn't have that New York Giants cap on. And he did a fantastic job. So great cast. Wonderful film. It is a bizarreness to it.
Oh, I know. That was what was so good about it. It was just so.
Yeah, it's just
so imaginative and weird.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I really look for in an original movie. Hey, producer, can you put the list back up? Because I've seen all of them.
Fableman's is the other one I saw.
Yeah. So you've seen 3 of them.
I've seen 3 of these. I didn't see Tar Triangle Sadness because they both sound sad. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now it solidifies for me what didn't make this screenplay. I would have picked The Menu in here instead of Triangle of Sadness. I thought that was just so interesting. And for me, when I look at an original screenplay, I want my head to be blown up. I want to see something I never seen before, or view something that's unique and special and something that stays with me for a while. And, Everything Everywhere All at Once. If this is the list, this is the one I think should get it, because there were so many parts of it. I was like, I never seen this before. The Daniels, that's their kind of collaboration name, the Daniels, who directed and wrote it. I think that they created something so unique and different and weird and wacky and loving and, difficult and unnerving at times. I mean, that's something that you rarely see in these categories. And the rest of them kind of were, I think this category, you saw a bunch of whiny people who have good lives, the worried well. That's what I felt like from a lot of it. And The Triangle of Sadness is literally like, well, there's one more that's even worse, but that so far is one of the worst movies of the year. It's terrible. It tries to be funny and witty, but it falls flat, and it's just a bunch of dumb people doing dumb stuff. And I just thought, when I actually watched it, because I love the title. I mean, that's an incredible title, but then it's just dumb. And so I was like, man, you wasted that good title on this piece of crap movie. So, don't watch that. And Tar, I thought Cate Blanchett is the best thing about it. The story is kind of a bitter take on Me Too. And I didn't care for it. And The Fabelmans, I wanted to love it.
Oh, I did. I thought it was good.
I did not love the story.
It was too real. It was so real.
It was, I don't know, but I did not like. I didn't like.
Steven Spielberg could build a turd and put it on screen. It would be a wonderful turd. I mean, everything Steven Spielberg.
No,
not this one,
because this one was a turd, and
it was not a turd.
It stunk.
Nope,
I didn't
like it.
This is his worst movie.
Oh no!
This is his worst movie. I think.
Really,
Battery's modern era of him.
1941 was pretty bad. If we're going to talk.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some other ones. I mean,
this one.
Granted, his triumph.
This is his worst one in a decade for sure.
I do love The Exchange. It's not a turd. It stunk, because that's a great play on your road to
shit. I wanted to love it. I wanted to love the story, since we're talking about the story.
Yeah.
I wanted to love the story. I thought there were some interesting things cinematically, of course. Not as much as I would have thought, but the part that I loved was the very last scenes, like the last.
With the director.
With the director.
Yes.
I thought that was really interesting and
Where's the horizon?
And a unique kind of thing to happen. And but the story about the family and the parents, I kind of just it drew it. I didn't like it.
It was sad, but it felt very real. I mean, that's what I thought was good about it.
I don't know anybody who would have done something like that.
Well, I mean, you got
the father put up with. No, that did not sound realistic to me at all. I was like, I was like, what? I just spent most of the movie going, what? I can't believe this. And Seth Rogen going against type.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
Solid move.
But if you think about looking at who was in the movie, there were a lot of directors playing or filmmakers. You know, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg have a amazing collaboration, have done tons of great movies. And you know, the other director who pops up in it, you know, has done an amazing amount of movies. I think there's one other in there. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that he put other directors in the movie who love movies. But I wanted to love it. I just did not. I did not. So I can see it's here because Steven Spielberg, they're going to try and give him an award. And since it's semi-autobiographical, I think they'll try and give him an award for one of the things. I think that's what's going to happen. But as we all agree, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is our favorite for the writing category. Original. It's definitely, if you don't quit putting that thing up, it's
just
definitely
a bronze cord.
Hands over going, ooh.
Definitely the most bagel originality. The bagel, I mean, the everything bagel, so amazing. It's just, go watch it. If you haven't watched it by now, what are you doing with your life?
It's so 90 degrees every time. you're driving along 90 degrees, and you were driving along 90 degrees, driving along 90 degrees. I mean, there's no straight path anywhere. It was amazing.
Yeah, just a beautiful story about family.
Yeah.
And so you talk about realistic family. This is a realistic family. So,
except for the whole multiverse traveling stuff.
No, leave the multiverse stuff out. The family dynamic is what is
it was
realistic.
just as real. I mean, okay. Let's talk about that.
Are you about to say multiverse is realistic?
No, I'm just about to say that there is no. I mean, yes, you felt that was a real family for you watching that, the relationships. But you know what? There are all kinds of them. And I thought that the Fablemans had just as valid a family dynamic, even though it may not be your family dynamic or Dave's or mine or anybody else's. It felt real, but it was weird. Yeah, it was totally weird. I got that. But it just because it's weird to you and me does not make it any less real to somebody else. Because there are all kinds of people who do terrible shit like that all the time. Pardon my French.
It is. Is it enjoyable? No. But I felt like of the writing about family, I really connected more with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
They were both very interesting. They both showed things that you don't see normally. Right. Maybe in our lives we never saw. Well, multiverse travel and weird, stuff like that. Yeah, I've never seen hot dog fingers. I'm a little sad about that. I'm just going to tell you. But I've never seen, my dad bringing along my mom's boyfriend for everything. So, I mean, that was weird as hell. And then I was absolutely floored at the moment when he's cutting all the film together and he just has that moment. I'm like, holy crap. Yes.
Yeah.
It was really, and then he makes the film and shows it to mom, and mom's like, yeah.
But then, see, this is why I didn't like her, because she put that burden in on her son, and I was like,
she was totally selfish. That was her fatal flaw.
Also, I don't really care for Michelle Williams as an actress. I know she's done everybody loves her, but it's just her and there's another person, I forget, Carrie something. They look like sisters, but I just don't like it. I just don't like her. And so I just don't like this character. I don't like the mom's character. So I'm like, ugh. And so it kind of just turned me off to the whole thing. So, I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's probably a lot of people's cup of tea. So, but that's the beauty of cinema, is you can pick and you can watch and you can decide for yourself. So definitely the only one I would say skip is Triangle of Sadness. So don't bother. It's terrible. It's the worst of the bunch today. But woo, this was a great discussion, but it looks like we are really over time. But when it's good, baby. So definitely check us out, fellas. Do you want to say anything? Well, let me say what's up next week. Next week, we will have the Gangs of London. It's on AMC. And the Bad Batch next episode. I don't know, maybe they'll drop another couple. And then we'll have the Best Supporting Actor nominees movies coming up. And also the movie Causeway. And so definitely check those out. And Patrick, you want to say goodnight to the people? Or whatever else you want to talk about. And
as I always say, get out and see movies.
Yep. I did today. It was very enjoyable. And David, you want his final words?
Well, yes, I do, Pam. So everyone just sit back here. Now, everybody, have a great week ahead. Enjoy the Super Bowl. If you want to watch that, Valentine's Day, be with your significant others if you have one. Maybe find one. Or if not, just go and adopt a pet, because nothing is as loving as a little fur baby. So, and watch a movie with he or she. Have a great one. We will see you all later.
All right. And definitely root for the Chiefs. Chiefs, 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 Chiefs. I predict the Chiefs are going to win. It'll be a fantastic game. And we're going to have the best time. I know I will. I won't know what anything is going on except the score and the halftime performances with Rihanna. So definitely check it out. We'll see you next time. Take care.